Welcome back to the party.
Session 11.
It's been a minute.
It has been a hot minute. We've been a hot mess.
We have been a hot mess.
Yeah. All of us, all three of us. We're looping the Podfather into this.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's March now, and we haven't been back in the podcast studio since last year, right?
That's right. Wow. Yeah.
So we've just had a series of COVID, sickness.
Yes.
Travel.
Yes.
Yeah. So
more sickness, post-travel.
Yes. Yeah. And that has kept us out of here.
Yeah. Here we are, though.
But we are back. And so, you know, right before we press record, we were just talking about what a bit of a lunatic you are. And I would like to bring that back.
This is such a weird thing to think that, like, there are many things that I think you could reference for why I'm a lunatic, but this is not one of them.
Okay, that you keep following up with Braden, the Podfather, that he hasn't watched the Shania Twain documentary. For some reason, this piece of information is stuck in your head, which got me thinking about other things that stick in your head.
Yeah.
One that I was telling somebody this story, they were asking me how you and I met.
Okay.
And I was giving them,
God. Okay,
I
yeah,
was
this is
explaining
weird.
to them what happened. But then it popped into my head what you told me.
Yes.
Is that, and I'll quote, she said, "I chose you." It is spine-chilling every time. It's bone-chilling.
But isn't it an honor at this point in your life?
Absolutely, it's an honor. But tell us about it. Like, what you looked over at me. Tell us how you tell this story.
Yes. Well, I feel like I should preface it with that and you know this about me, that I have a very small, tight circle.
An extremely tight circle.
I don't know why. I have a problem having friends that I see like once a year, you know? Like, I feel like you're really good at that.
Yes,
like, you have lots of girlfriends that, like, you're fine with them just coming in and out of your life.
Yes,
For some reason, to me, I feel like I'm not doing a good job. I'm not being a good friend. Like, I'm failing at this friendship. So I keep my circle tight.
It's extremely small. Like, no one can come in, no one can come out.
That's the thing. Like, once you're in, you're fucking in. Like, I'm like married to you, which, like, we keep taking things to the next level.
We do.
In how integrated we are in each other's lives. But so back to when I met you, I don't know, there was something about you that I was just like, I like this girl. She's coming in the circle. Like, I literally was like, we're going to be best friends.
And I was telling Alisha the story of how we met, and she said, that's not how it happened. I selected you. I was like, what? I didn't know this was happening
like a murderer
to me.
or something.
It is
but
like that, because also I know how much Dateline she watches.
Yes, I was grooming you.
Yeah.
And then I brought you into the circle.
And now I'm so integrated in your life, in your marriage, that this could turn into a Dateline episode.
I know.
It's always a triangle.
Or like a big love.
Or a Big Love, which is my favorite show right now.
I was cracking up thinking about, because we're just on the precipice of actually making a real estate investment together.
Right.
So I was going through, I was like, we run 3 businesses together. We have multiple joint bank accounts. We are venturing on a real estate investment. And like, all of those things, the only other person I share that with is my husband. And then the one thing that you and I have that him and I do is we also share social media. Like, who does that? Like, I'm in your personal social media.
You know who does that? Couples that, you know, some trust has been broken or something, and they have to share their social.
Exactly.
But we haven't had that happen. We just
haven't.
choose to
I've
do
preemptively,
that way.
well, you think that this is your choice. But
yes,
again,
I'm a very freedom-based person.
I chose this.
So when I heard that this was all calculated, I was like, what? Oh my God.
Very calculated. It was successful in my eyes. And I really haven't brought anyone else into the fold since then. Like, I'm full.
And I guess what I'm realizing right now is, like, you do have your husband where you have a similar type committed relationship with.
Yes.
You're my biggest committed relationship.
Yes.
I don't have somebody else.
It really worked out for me.
Yeah. You're
I
my
really
biggest bet,
nailed this. Yeah.
which is really interesting.
So back to the Shania documentary. I mean, what really sticks out in my head is I know Braden is such a music fan.
Right.
And as a music fan, I think this is like the pinnacle. It's Shania.
There's a lot of other musicians, documentaries, but this one you've really got to be in your bonnet
You
about.
gotta be in your
that
bonnet.
he has to watch it.
Yes.
You actually yelled at him saying, "You just had COVID. What the were you doing?"
Like, I know what happens. You lay in bed for days and days. You know what I really love about this conversation is I get so much joy. My other best friend and her husband work in the music industry. My
Right.
husband used to work in the music industry, and they're like huge music nerds. And I am the opposite. I'm like Taylor Swift,
Justin
Rihanna,
Bieber.
Justin Bieber, and it drives them insane. So that's part of my catalyst for being on Braden about watching Shania,
Love
because I
this.
know she's not cool, but I'm just like,
Yes.
it really brings me joy to think about him as a an artist, to be sitting down and watching
Shania.
Shania. Yeah, I love
She
it.
did that documentary was pretty amazing though. She did
Right?
a lot. Yes.
Thank you.
Her costumes,
Thank you.
her following.
Listen
She
to
broke
this.
a lot of boundaries.
She did. She's incredible. Like, I didn't know how really successful she was,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, and she was like really good at. She was like one of the first artists who was like trashing men, and you know, like,
she's
I
a
really-
real feminist.
Yeah,
that
I really
one. Yeah.
liked that.
Yeah,
You know?
I did too.
That really, really got me pumped up.
Okay, so we've talked about what a psycho I am.
Yes.
Talked about Shania.
Yes.
We're going to roll into our topic
Okay,
today, which is a little bit more of a serious topic, but we have some really useful support that we want to share. So we're going to be talking about layoff support. Of course, we all know that the economy is in a bit of a roller coaster right now, and we
It really
keep
is.
seeing, new companies, a lot in the tech industry, and it's kind of rippling out to other industries that are having to reduce headcount.
Yes,
Sucks.
it really does.
Yeah. And we've talked about our own experiences with that personally, being laid off. And we know how detrimental it is, obviously, financially, but mentally as well. So we at 1111 pulled together what we're calling a candidate handbook. So it's a supportive guide for your job search, which is a completely free resource accessible on our website if you go to our blog.
Great. Yes.
We will link it somewhere, hopefully
show notes.
on the show notes. There we
Okay,
go.
great.
Okay, we'll do that.
And I think this is like particularly good, this episode 4 and this resource, if you find yourself newly on the job market, if you've just been laid off, if you're looking for work, or if there is like talk in your company right now
Yes.
about upcoming layoffs or anticipated layoffs. It might be good to just get familiar with this information because you can start implementing a few of these things now.
100%. That's really good guidance. And it just triggered something in my brain that we also did an episode recently about recession proofing your career.
Yes.
So that's another good one to go and listen to
Yeah.
if there's some kind of instability in the company you're working for. Okay, so we wanted to start with kind of some tips and tricks for applying online. We've talked about this before, but I think it's so useful. And as seasoned recruiters, this has been what we've been doing our whole careers.
Right.
I think we kind of take things for granted, but I get a lot of questions from candidates around applying online. It's a bit of a black hole. It feels like you're
Yes.
just throwing your resume into the abyss, which you kind of are.
Yeah.
There could be 500, 600 plus applicants to one position. It's so easy to put your resume in online. So a lot of people are doing it. So on this resource, we're going to share kind of in-depth some tips and tricks about applying online, but we're going to talk about a few today. So the first one I want to talk about is really using the job description as kind of like your treasure map, or this like key, this little insight into what the hiring manager is thinking. It may seem really obvious, but having a read through the job description and just start noticing terms or words that they're using a lot, or that they seem to place a high importance on. Maybe it's the first couple of bullet points in the responsibilities of the role, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's think of an example that would be helpful. If you're looking at, let's say, an HR manager job description, what are some keywords that maybe you would pull out for that?
Right. So maybe employee relations.
Yes.
Recruitment.
Mhm.
benefits administration,
Yes.
strategic people culture development,
Yes.
performance management.
Excellent. You're so professional. Like you just pulled those out of nowhere. It's like you know what you're talking about. So those are what I would call keywords. And what happens for most companies that are accepting applications online is they have what we call an applicant tracking system or an ATS. Essentially, it is AI technology that receives all of the resumes and it pre-scans them for the hiring manager and it pulls out matches. And that's why those keywords are so, so important. You want to make sure you're including them in your resume. So obviously, you're not making stuff up. You need to have done these things, but just make sure you're using the exact same wording that the job description has. So, instead of, I don't know, I'm thinking what's another way to say employee relations or recruitment. If they're saying recruitment and you have talent acquisition, I would update your resume and switch it to the word recruitment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So does that make sense? Okay, that's the number one trick for applying online. Number two, again, this might seem obvious, but we need to say it, slow down and do it correctly. There's often steps that they're asking you to take. They might let you know if you need to submit a cover letter or not, or if there's certain information they want to know about you. Are you working remotely? Do you want to work remotely? What your salary requirements are. A lot of companies are starting to collect that information up front.
And if you don't follow the exact process, it might just screen you out straight away.
Yes. Yeah. The hiring manager might look at that and think they can't follow simple instructions.
Right. Or it might not even get through the AI. It might not even get through the ATS to the hiring manager.
Exactly. Right. You might be weeded out right off the bat. So make sure you're reading how to do it. And the final tip in terms of applying online, I think this is the most important. And that is sending your resume into a company through an email address cannot be your final step. You cannot think, okay, I've applied to that position.
Right.
Maybe 10 years ago that was true, but it is not today. So what you need to do is the dreaded word network. And we are now calling this modern networking because we're not talking about, going to a big auditorium and sitting next to someone you don't know, that nightmare scenario.
Yes. And I love that you coined this phrase because I'm obsessed with it. Modern networking, which is basically authentic connections. And we can all do that.
We can all do that. I can do that.
You can do that.
We just talked about how small I like to keep my circle.
Exactly. So go to a networking event with Alisha and she does not leave your side. Or if I go to talk to somebody, she'd be like, what are you doing?
I'll be like, get back here. I sound like we're in an abusive relationship. I don't know. It helps. It does help me to reframe it a little bit, get out of that old narrative of what networking is.
It helped me too because then there's also this reciprocal give and take relationship the way you've reframed it, which feels better because sometimes networking feels like, I'm just taking from you, know, or I have an agenda where you can drop all of that and just say, I'm going to ask you for something and I'm going to give you something or, it's a give and take.
Yes. So what is that, when you think modern networking, what's an example of that?
Yeah. So if you're networking with the view to, drive business or to make new contacts or to get a job, you could find that person and go up to them and talk to them. And we always recommend leaving the interaction with, is there anything that I can do for you or what can I do for you? And never assuming that there's nothing you can do for somebody else. I used to think that, because this person's a CEO, there's nothing I could do for them. They could only help me, but it's never true. And just even asking that question brings it it to a reciprocal energy exchange and you walk away just feeling better. And a lot of the time there is something you can do for them.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And so when you're applying online to something, what we're suggesting is you then take it upon yourself to find somebody in the company you can connect with. So the obvious tool to use here is LinkedIn, your own personal networks. You have to be a little bit bold, go out of your comfort zone, reach out to people maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. But if you know they have a connection at the company, or you can find somebody online to send a connection to through LinkedIn, do it and make that request. Say,
Right.
I'm really keen or attracted to this company. Here's why. I've put my application in online. Would you be able to support me in putting me in touch with the hiring manager?
Yes.
And then to your point, is there anything I can do for you? Or please let me know if there's anything I can ever do.
And it doesn't have to just be on LinkedIn. You might know, your friend's husband might work at that company.
Yes.
So you could call them and say, hey, I just applied to this role. Would you mind emailing the HR manager with my name and doing a short recommendation for me? And is there anything I can do for
Yes.
you? What other ways could you do it? Like LinkedIn, asking a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
I guess what we're trying to say is just be bold and take that extra step. And don't feel shy about it. It's a really tough market right now because there's such an influx of candidates. It's really competitive. So these are really easy ways you can set yourself apart or stand out.
Totally. Yeah. And I think this is just, you have to think of this as an essential step in
Yes.
applying to a company. You're not done sending your resume in online.
Yeah.
Great. So there's actually more around applying online in the resource, but those are the tips we wanted to share
Great.
today. So you can check it out through our website. And Tess, you've got a few as well.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about interview anxiety.
Yes. So I think this is such a pivotal point in the resource and
Right.
something that might be not super obvious because, for someone like myself who's really tactical, I'm thinking, okay, how do I need to write my resume? How should I be applying online?
Right.
But that's 50% of the equation, honestly. Like 50% is going to be your mindset and your mental well-being
Yes.
during this
Yeah.
time.
And I just think, side note, so much of our content is like this. It's like,
Yes.
here's what you need to do technically, and here's the emotional component. And as you were saying that, I was like, oh, that's so good because it's so two-parted,
Yes.
right? And it's so often we ignore the emotional side or the health side or the mental health side.
Yes.
But we really want to be talking about that as much as possible.
And when you combine those, that is power.
Yeah.
That is intention. That is, you're just in your strengths
Yes.
when you can be looking after both sides of the equation.
Yes, and it allows you to ride the roller coaster with so much more ease, and you can handle the rejection or the acceptance with a lot more regularity. So I think this is really, really important. So we have 5 mindful tips for interview anxiety, and we go to a lot of detail on it in the resource, but I will share with you really briefly the 5 things. So the first one is food for thought. So what are you eating? What are you consuming? Be really
Yes.
mindful about your diet, while you are laid off, while you're at home. How are you nourishing yourself? So you're really good at this. So what would you add to this?
Would you die if I gave you like the Gwyneth Paltrow answer?
Yeah, bone broth.
Bone broth and veggies in in a 24-hour period. Not at all. I think it's just like taking the time, like you said, to think about what nourishes you. What do you eat and you feel good after you've eaten it?
Yes.
And kind of scheduling in when you're going to eat. Like today we both arrived here and had super busy mornings and didn't eat breakfast. That's not the
Right.
best way to set up our day. And
Yes.
certainly maybe when you're in a bit of a depleted state
Yes.
mentally on the job search, certainly not a good way to go into it. So I like to start my day with a smoothie and just
Right.
like pack it full of nutrients, but make it delicious still.
Yes. Here I am saying, be really mindful of what you do to nourish yourself. And I have a muffin that I got on the go that's not really cutting it. So
I just love that it's in a Ziploc bag. I don't know why that's getting me. And I'm eating nuts out of a can right now. So you know what? We don't know what we're doing. Don't listen to
we're always
us.
a work in progress. Always a work in progress. But what you eat matters. And it's such a beautiful way to love yourself and care for yourself.
I love when we get on Zoom in the mornings and you have like a meal.
Yes.
Like you have been in the kitchen Cooking
I'm a
up a
breakfast
storm.
person, and
Yeah.
I'll do like eggs, like a wilted spinach, sauteed spinach. I do like sometimes I have like squash that I've baked the night
Love
before
that.
in my
Yes.
breakfast. Always a big thing of sauerkraut. And you talked about this on my birthday, is that I eat so well all day, like so well and nourish myself. But when like kids go to bed, when I get my own time,
All hell breaks loose.
the mini eggs come out, Mrs. Vicky's salt and vinegar. It is like I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm just not ready to address yet.
That's
baby
fine.
steps.
I think it's balance. You're doing
It's
great.
balance, babe. Okay, number 2 is clear the clutter. So, a really beautiful space matters. A clean work environment, a clean home, a decluttered environment really impacts your mental health. So, just look around the space that you're in right now and just think, what can I release? What can I let go of? Or spend the first 30 minutes of your day just cleaning your space, clearing it, even just doing a spray and wipe down of your desk and just giving it new energy and making a beautiful space for yourself to
Make
do
your
best
bed.
work. Make your bed,
Yes, I totally agree.
Pour the coffee in a really nice cup, light a nice
Yes.
candle, just create an environment to honor yourself, nurture yourself, and, be your best in.
Again, it's nourishing,
Yes.
just like the food you're eating.
Yes. Okay, number 3 is free your mind. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. Braden.
Another classic, Braden.
So, of course, we're going to talk about this. Meditation, breath work, mindfulness. If you haven't had a chance to check out our sister brand, our second brand, Chapter 2 Meditation, go and have a look. But this is where we share so much around meditation, the science of meditation, a lot of technical, tactical tools on how to breathe and how to decrease stress and anxiety in your life, how to release the stress hormones, and how to just find some calm and peacefulness in your day to, again, help you navigate and ride the waves of everyday life, whether you're job hunting or not. Life is up and down. That's just the nature of it. And we both have been meditating for many years, and we've both found it to be a game-changing tool, right?
Game changing. And the only thing I would add here is for anybody who hasn't meditated before, I think that word can be intimidating.
Yes.
We talk about this a lot too. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't mean you're closing your eyes for 20 minutes, sitting on a pillow, overlooking.
Yeah, I'm going to an
waterfall.
for 3 months. What?
It's so simple and it's so accessible. It can be, right? And it's such a beautiful place to
Yes.
begin. Actually, this would be a great place to share about our new
Right.
offering that is the perfect beginning to meditation.
Yes. So we created a digital course. It's 5 days of meditation, and it's specifically aimed at breathing techniques to reduce stress and anxiety. So if you go to the Chapter 2 website under resources, there's digital courses, and you can purchase it there. It's $38 Canadian, and we're just getting incredible feedback on it, and it's guided, and it has journaling prompts, reflection prompts, and what we're really passionate about is the link between meditation and performance. So when we say performance, we mean performance in every area of your life and your day to day. So if that's of interest, or if you feel called to check that out, please go ahead. We can also link it in our show notes to make it super easy.
Yeah, I just made a note of that. So
Okay,
we'll do that
great.
with the resource guide.
Okay, so number 4 is visualize your success. So taking a moment, this can be in meditation. This can be while you're walking or while you're driving. It can be as you're pressing enter to press send on your resume. Just picture the other person receiving it. Visualize yourself getting a call back or an email back for an interview. Just allow yourself to, call in the highest possible outcome. Allow yourself to just visualize everything going well for you. It's actually harder than it sounds to do, because we're always trying to protect ourselves. We're always trying to buffer our expectations, but knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way, allow yourself to just go for it.
I actually think we naturally do the opposite, right? We're picturing the worst possible outcome. I'm never going to hear from them.
Yeah. And
right?
that's nature. That's normal.
Yes.
Like our brains have a negativity bias to keep us safe, to keep us alive. But we can override that. We can like hear that negative voice and go, okay, thank you, brain, for doing your job. I got this.
Not today.
Not today. I got this. We're going to get this. And just not with a false bravado, but just, this could be possible for me. And then let it unfold.
And there's actually data-backed research around visualization and the success of it.
Yes.
It works.
Yeah.
It sounds wild just sitting there thinking,
yes.
Positively and imagining a positive outcome.
Right.
Could actually influence
the outcome.
The
There's
outcome
a
and how
lot of
things
quality
unfold.
research on this. So Google that if you're interested in it. And we actually have blog content on this. So
We
you
do.
can see at chapter 2. And so those are the 5. Or actually, there's one more.
Those were the 4.
Those are the 4.
We got a 5th.
And so the last one is exercise empathy. And so the saying, when you're about to go on stage is picture your audience naked. It's actually a metaphor for, your audience is just people too, right? And so the hiring manager, the CEO receiving your resume is a person too, just like you.
I love that.
I know.
Yeah, that
Isn't
is
that
a
just nice
pause.
to remember?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because so often we kind of put people on top of us or above us, or we watch somebody and we think, their life is perfect or they've got it all
Yes.
sorted. But you have to remind yourself, no.
Their life is a mess. Just kidding.
They're just like me,
Yes.
having ups and downs.
Yes.
Like just being human, right?
I do this a lot when I'm pitching to clients.
Yes.
I get in my head about
Yes.
who they are, what they've accomplished,
Right.
the level of people that they surround them with.
Yeah,
me
when we
taking up their
first
time.
opened, 7
Yeah.
years ago, I used to actually have a huge divide there. I would think I'm down here, they're up here, and I, and that would really come off, I think, in how I would present myself,
Totally,
how I
yeah.
would present the business. And gradually over time, that's leveled out. But I still have to remind myself, they're just a person.
They're just a person.
They have kids. They don't have kids. They're in a relationship. That can't be going well all the time.
100%.
So, yeah.
Humans.
Okay, that was the 5.
That was the 5. So I'm going to do a really quick recap here, what we talked about today. So we talked about tips and tricks for applying online. So that includes reviewing the JD and using and pulling out keywords, slowing down, doing the application process correctly. And just remember this phrase, modern networking.
Yes.
Right? So we're reframing how we approach networking through authentic connections. And then Tess shared her 5 mindful methods for coping with interview anxiety, which includes food for thoughts. So nourishing yourself, clearing the clutter, which is physically, creating a clean, beautiful space for yourself, freeing your mind, visualizing your success, and exercising empathy. So, when you're sending in your resume, it is to a human being.
Yes.
After it goes through the AI
And so
process.
this resource, right, has so much other stuff on it.
It does. Yeah. There's a lot of other content. We include some bonus resources as well, including the Executive Woman's Toolkit, specific breathing techniques. So a nice intro to mindfulness. We have an interview with you, actually, how to quit your job without burning bridges. That's powerful.
Amazing.
So check it out. We're going to link everything in the show notes.
Yes.
And that's
Enjoy. We hope it's helpful. And
yes.
if it is, please leave a comment and let us know.
Yes.
That would
Thank
be
you.
super helpful.
See this reciprocal
Yeah.
relationship we're building?
Yes. Let's have this be an energetic exchange, a equal energetic exchange.
Love that.
Love that for us. Love that for everyone.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Tuna.